Well, how is everybody doing today?
Hey, Peter DeLacy, how are you?
I'm just happy as a clam.
Good job. Well, my kitchen floor is really clean.
That's good.
I know.
I've been wanting me to do something about that. Word is out on the street that it was really a disaster over there.
Oh my God. Trust me.
Joel, thanks for helping me out this morning. That would be Peter talking to you, Joel.
Yeah. Hey, Peter, I'm just trying to unmute myself. Yeah. Hey, Peter. Yeah, you bet. I'm glad you're on here. Glad you got it set up.
It's pre-meeting idle banter time is what I'm calling this.
So, Peter, are you going to start the idle banter?
Well, I stopped for a moment. I can always pull out a harmonica and just serenade you guys for a while.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
I'm only getting 6 people, Joel, on my screen. Can you see my face when I talk, you guys?
I can see your face.
Okay, good. That means the videos, I connected it. Are we supposed to be able to get more than 6 on screen, Joel, do you think?
It depends. Like right now, I see like 3 at a time, and I can kind of scroll through. It probably depends on each individual's setup. But
you can click and drag to make the box that the pictures are in larger, and then more of them will pop up.
Oh, there you go. Good man. Thank you.
I've got 10 on mine, so.
Yeah, that helped tremendously. Thank you.
Now, one more time, could you repeat that?
Yeah, so with where the box is, where the grid, you can see all the people. If you can drag and make that box larger, again, it may not work on iOS, but give it a try, and that will show you more participants.
You can drag it down. You can also drag it across.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, God.
Oh, then you get a really nice profile view of me when I drag it across to the other screen.
Participants. I see the grid. I don't see any pictures when I pull up the grid. I just see like little boxes with initials in it. Oh well.
So you just see the title screen and then a grid with initials in it?
Yes, virtual town hall for organizational support grantees. I'm on an iPad too.
Okay, that might be the issue.
Yeah, it's fine. It's no problem. I can see everybody. I can see you, Brenda. Hi, Brenda.
Hello.
Anyone can see me.
I can.
Oh, so I better stop picking my teeth and flossing.
No, go ahead.
Whoops. What did I do?
You took care of it.
There we go.
Okay.
Still looks like we have a few more people joining.
Okay, we'll wait just a couple more minutes.
Or two. Okay. Oh, great.
Hello, this is Mary Carol Page with Tulsa Corral. I wondered, is there a way for me to join in my Zoom app on my phone? I dialed in this time. Is there a link I didn't understand from the email?
Yes, you should have gotten a registration link. If you click on that using your iOS device, your phone, or your iPad, whatever, it'll take you to that registration link, and then it'll jump you into the meeting. Does that help?
Sort of. Okay. Well, I'm afraid to leave now since I'm in, so I'll just be participating by phone. So I won't be able to see anything. Are you going to be having a lot of screens that you're going to be showing?
A few things, but we'll also vocalize everything that'll be on the screen.
Okay. Well, okay. All right. Thank you. I'll mute myself again. Thanks for what you're doing. Appreciate it.
Yeah, this is John Marshall with OVAC. If this is being recorded, are you going to provide a link later on to for people that can't make the call?
Yes. Yeah, we certainly want to do that.
Great, thanks.
We will be providing a link to the recording, as well as we will save the chat, which we will be downloading or sharing documents and resources along the way, and we will share that out with the entire participants. If you register as you register, we'll have your information.
I'm not sure how to access the chat. I see it at the bottom of the screen, but when I push on it, or when I click at it, nothing happens.
It should, if you're on a computer, it should open up in another window.
Okay, thank you. I used GoToMeeting a lot in the past couple of weeks, but Zoom I'm not as familiar with, so thanks.
Joel, why don't you give me the green light when you think we're ready to go?
Well, I think we move forward. It looks like we've had some additional people join, and maybe we'll pick up the remaining couple, or however many are left here as we go. So we're going to go ahead and mute everybody for the time being until we get through the initial part of the Amber's presentation and mine and Thomas's, and then we'll open it up at that point.
Okay, well, I will get us started. Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Friday. I know it's been a rough 2 weeks. Want to first of all thank all of you for carving out time in your busy schedules, as I know that many of you are in literally a triage and reactionary moment as you're trying to plan both for the short term and then think about long-term recovery of our sector. And so I want to thank you for spending the time with us, and I hope what we can find is a beneficial day where we lift each other up and we have candid and a safe conversation about how the Oklahoma Arts Council will work to do whatever we can in our ability as the sector and state agency for the arts to lift you up and find out what you need, and so that way we can really be responsive. It's going to be muddy and messy, and we appreciate your patience with us, but we want you to know, first and foremost, we're here for you. You know, we are public servants to support the very important work that you're doing in the field. And so I don't want to go beyond just starting without thanking you all for your, honestly, your resiliency and your innovation in this space, and for being here with us. We will persevere, but it is going to be a very taxing situation. But I know that we are going to come out on the other side, because that is what we do as creatives. And so we're here to walk that journey with you. And I hope that you can find a space for candid dialogue with us to let us know what you need so we can be responsive. This initial call is really an update to our backbone arts organizations statewide of the Oklahoma Arts Council's initial pandemic response, as we are responding as an agency and how we're trying to be responsive to you. We also want to provide you with the most up-to-date resources that we have. And again, like I said, a safe space that you can share your innovation, help us identify the barriers or challenges you're experiencing, both financial and programmatic, and ways that we can then support you and one another to guide us through this new chapter and journey of this new reality and normalcy. So this new normal. Wanted to first and foremost start that of just a welcome, and then I want to pass it to Chandra Boyd, our Deputy Director, to really talk about an overview of today's call and kind of the format and approach we're taking. So Chandra, it's yours.
Chandra.
I'm still mute.
There, oh,
There we go.
there you go.
All right, you can hear me now? No, I was just saying I'm coming to you live from my remote office on the Philbrook lawn. Lovely, lovely space today. Great escape. So hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you all for being here today. I hope you all are doing well. I just want to go over an overview and a bit of housekeeping. Scott, if you can advance to our agenda for today. So as you can see, we'll have an update from Amber from the Oklahoma Arts Council, and then we will pass it over to Joel Gavin, who will be speaking about our resource page on our website. Thomas Tran, Grants Director, will be providing some updates for organizational support grantees for FY20. And then I will be facilitating a discussion with our group here about strategies that you all have been using, innovation that has really sparked in your work with communities. So just seeing how you all are responding and give you all a forum for discussion. So again, just a bit of housekeeping. We're going to keep all participants muted through the presentations. If you have any questions, please use the chat bar to the right. You can access the chat bar, well, I guess it's on my right. It might be somewhere else on your screen. You can access it from the bottom of your Zoom screen. Click on the chat. So any questions you may have during the process, we are monitoring those questions. We will be saving the chat and the Q&A, and we're going to do our best to respond to those questions in real time. If there's something that we don't get to during this call, we will save the chat. As Amber mentioned, we are recording this presentation and saving the chat. We'll be sharing that back out in kind of an FAQ format with response to all the questions that are generated through this call. During our facilitated discussion, I just ask that a representative from each organization take turns speaking one at a time. Be mindful to honor equal time with the group and your colleagues so that we all have an equal chance to share and listen and hear from one another. And also just remembering to build in pauses during a call with so many folks on the call. At this time, we ask that you take a moment just to silence your cell phones, turn off any notifications. Like I said, you all will be muted through the presentation, but just in preparation for that discussion. So I'm going to pitch it back to Amber.
All right, everyone. Okay, well, I'm going to just go fast and furious through as much updates as I can to give you a status both on the state and federal level of what we're watching and what we think is in the pipeline. First and foremost, our agency, effective Monday, March 16th, all OAC staff were moved to full-time telework status, and our physical office was closed at that point. And we will plan to continue to remain in that status until it is determined by health professionals and state officials that it is safe for us to return to our office. So while our physical office is closed, all emails and phone numbers on our website are still relevant to get a hold of our staff. Both email and their phones are forwarded to their personal phones so they can attend and respond to you in a timely fashion. If you are sending us anything via snail mail and or FedEx priority mail, it may be delayed in getting to us. I'm going to the state's mail center, a centralized place, and picking up physically our mail twice a week. That also means that if you receive hard copy checks of payment and you're not in the electronic payment system, it also means that you may be delayed in how fast we can get those checks to you, but we will expedite them. If I see a check coming in the mail, I will make it my priority to get back to the mail site for the state to get those mailed out. But there will be a natural delay because we're not in our physical offices. So please just know that. Now I'm going to shift to the federal level. I'm sure all of you have been watching the various stimulus packages that have gone through in response to the coronavirus pandemic. Right now, the third stimulus package is currently in process. It was passed by the Federal Senate, Congress, on Wednesday. It is scheduled to be heard today, and I need to check on that, if possible. It is supposed to be considered by House members, and it's according to the intel we have received from the federal level, it is looking like it will be favorably responded to. There are some issues with voting, though, due to quarantine members of Congress, because there have been positive tested individuals of Congress, which then are impacting the ability to push that through. It did pass. I just got it from Brenda Granger. It just passed. Thank you. Thank you for that update. So it has passed the House. Now it needs to be signed by the president. In that stimulus package, both federal agencies, cultural agencies, are slated to receive $75 million respectively each. $75 million for the National Endowment for the Arts and $75 million for the National Endowment for the Humanities. Out of that National Endowment for the Arts appropriation through the stimulus funds, 40% must go to regional and state arts agencies to be reallocated out to the sector. So for the sake of comparison, whenever there was the 2009 ARRA stimulus package in response to the economy, both federal agencies were appropriated $50 million. So obviously this is $25 million more. In that year, we received approximately $300,000 as the state agency for the arts per that 40% allocation to regional and state arts agencies. So obviously that means that if a lot of pieces and factors are still in line with how they would then re-grant those monies out to state and regional partners, it would look like we might receive between $300,000 and $450,000. It depends on census data and other factors that are in the formula for the National Endowment. We don't have the specifics at this time as to what the parameters of this stimulus package will be, the criteria for reallocating and re-granting to the field. Once we know those things, we will obviously be conveying that. But what it is very encouraging to know that we will most likely see funding coming through our state agency, most likely to be for the use of securing arts sector jobs, which is how the stimulus package in 2009 was slated and presented to our agency, the criteria. I also want to add that the Oklahoma Center for Nonprofits, Dan Billingsley, has provided a Word document that we're going to put in the chat bar for all of you to look at post this meeting, which highlights some of the additional federal resources that will be available to the nonprofit sector, both arts and beyond, within the nonprofit sector, that are part of this stimulus package. Some of this includes emergency small business loans that you probably have seen have been shared by our agency, but then also the Oklahoma Center for Nonprofits. There's injury disaster loans, unemployment information and more flexibility. There's also information about employee retention, payroll tax credits, and other provisions about helping the sector of the nonprofits with retaining their work staff and their work teams, their employees. This is not our wheelhouse at the Oklahoma Arts Council, so we are going to pass those resources to you and suggest that if you have questions related to those specific pieces, that you contact the Oklahoma Center for Nonprofit. Now I'm going to move into the state update. Our agency just this week led a conversation with more than 20 leaders from statewide arts, humanities, cultural entities, and across the public, private, and philanthropic sectors to have a conversation with Lieutenant Governor Pennell to respond and talk about strategies for us collectively working together, both for short and long-term strategies for the field. We plan on meeting every 2 weeks, and then we're also going to see working groups come out of that to take on specific initiatives and issues, such as information distribution and other aspects. So you hopefully will start to see information coming out from us, and we're working very closely with the Lieutenant Governor to discuss key things such as job security and retention in our field, potentially the ability to look at additional state funds for our sector, if at all possible, through supplemental or additional funding mechanisms. So those conversations are continuing on the state level, and I just want you to know that we as an agency are pulling that community together to have that conversation. This morning, the executive committee of our agency, of our board, of our 15-member governor appointed board met. They met to talk about and approve our flexibility with our grant making, to revise some of our grant criteria to respond to the pandemic and to our grantees. I'm not going to take Thomas's thunder because this is what Thomas is going to go into detail about. But this revised criteria that he will be presenting is a response to our conversations with working with the Attorney General's office. We immediately sought the AG's counsel on our agency's authority to revise our current grant criteria to be responsive to the pandemic and to our grantees, considering issues such as cash flow, matching funds requirements, eligible expenditures, looking at the virtual content and that new platform for access to the arts, and looking for ways to help you all navigate this space through our grant making. So Thomas will go into specifics, but we had our emergency executive committee this morning based on that information from the AG's office, as well as guidance from the National Endowment for the Arts on our funding, federal funding constraints. We have revised our criteria, which we'll be unveiling today, and we hope that this will be a sign of good news for all of you. Next, I do want to touch on real quickly that Senate Bill 661 was passed, which was pushed through very quickly in response to the pandemic by the legislature and signed into law. And what this does is it revises the Open Meetings Act provisions. All OS grantees, because you do receive public funding, are supposed to be following the Open Meetings Act regulations, which means that your board meetings are supposed to be open to the public. So I have asked our staff to please add some information that we received from the AG's office on guidance on what that means for how you're going to have teleconferencing meetings by your boards and what things you need to do in order to stay in compliance with the Open Meetings Act, given this new provision to use electronic formats for meetings. Just a few takeaways from those, and I'll be happy to talk more offline or answer any questions, but some major takeaways are that this law is, or this new bill is only applicable while the state is declared in emergency status by the governor. Meetings, board meetings by nonprofits that receive public funding can be done via video teleconferencing for your board meetings. The public must still know how they can call in and listen to your board meetings via digital platforms. Votes must be done on a roll call basis versus just a voice call. They have to be individually roll called. And you can read the FAQ that we're going to send in the chat for everyone to see some FAQs provided by Attorney General Mike Hunter, according to this. So anyway, that is the end of my presentation, and I'll be happy to take any questions now, or if we want to hold off until a later time. Chandra.
We're getting a few questions in the chat bar. Norman Hammond's just asking about the timeline for distribution of those federal funds. That currently is unknown, but we will certainly keep you all posted as we are updated. I also think you're asking about the model that we used in 2009 for getting those funds out to arts organizations. Again, that's a bit of an unknown, but we'll get more information to you as we are updated at the federal level. Thank you for the question. All right, let's move on to Joel.
All right, everyone. Well, hello. And thank you for your attention to my emails, and thank you for lending us your time. So in response to the pandemic, the Oklahoma Arts Council has activated our resource page on our website. This is something that we've used in the past. often for like weather-related disasters, but we've updated it for the pandemic. It's called the Oklahoma Arts Emergency Resource Page. And I think Scott might provide a link in the chat if possible. You can access it through our homepage. And we've included a variety of resources on this. We've included national, regional, state, and local resources that can benefit both individuals and organizations in the arts. And we will be adding to this list as we learn about more resources and have opportunity to add those to the list. So we do know that everyone is receiving a flood of information about resources right now, where it's likely that you may be, and it certainly can be difficult to track and process a lot of this information. We know that many cultural organizations like the Oklahoma Arts Council are investing time and effort into collating this information and making people aware of it. Our goal in the near term is to actually lead in the creation of a system where there can be a one-stop shop in Oklahoma for resources. Wow. I don't know if you can hear this, but right outside of my window here, it's hailing. So this is pretty timely. Hopefully we don't get a busted window. So we do intend to help create a one-stop shop in Oklahoma for resources with a built-in process for managing and updating this sort of one-stop shop. And the idea is that this will eliminate redundancies among the various arts and cultural entities in the state. So it'll free up time and resources for everyone else to be able to focus on those matters. So stay tuned for that. And of course, we'll provide you more information as we have it for that. But in the meantime, we do have our Oklahoma Arts Emergency Resource page available. If you want to take a look at that and see if there's some applicable resources available to you or to anybody in your network that can benefit from those. So in addition to the resource page, I also want to bring your attention to a very important survey that will affect future funding and any additional stimulus investments for the arts. So Americans for the Arts has launched a survey that will empower them to gauge the impact of the pandemic on arts and cultural organizations nationwide. And some of you may have already heard about this. The survey is available on their website. We will soon be sending that out as well. So while we know that you're right in the middle of managing your response to this evolving situation, we do hope that you can find a little bit of time, I believe it's a very brief survey, and provide and be a part of that important feedback loop that ultimately will serve you and all of us in the arts as they are able to take that to national leaders and policymakers to be able to make a case for the importance of investing in the arts during this time. So as things evolve in terms of the messaging from the Oklahoma Arts Council during this time, you can expect to just see us continue to champion the arts as a powerful and positive and uplifting force in the recovery of our state and in our nation. So we certainly hope that we invite you to be part of amplifying that message in whatever way that you can. So thanks again, everyone. Stay safe, and I look forward to remaining in touch with you.
All right, Thomas, take it away.
All right, I think I unmuted myself. All right, hello everyone. This is Thomas Tran, Grants Director here at Oklahoma Arts Council. I'm so happy to be here with you all today, and I just want to take a minute to quickly echo what Amber has said. This is really an unprecedented and extremely difficult time for everyone. So all of us here at Oklahoma Arts Council recognize the significant impact of the COVID pandemic and its effect on nonprofit arts organizations across the state. We see and we hear about postponed programs and canceled events daily, and we just want to make sure you know that we are here, always thinking of you, the backbone of the arts industry, and we are doing everything we can to support you during this difficult time. In response to the anticipated challenges and impact of the pandemic, our staff and our governor-appointed board have worked together to explore ways in which we can shift our grant making to reflect this new environment that the nonprofit sector is now working in. We have consulted with the National Endowment for the Arts and the Oklahoma Attorney General Council to see what we're able to do within compliance of the state constitution and the terms of our own NEA partnership grants. So taking a look at what we're able to do, we're going to take a look at the grant program criteria and then the grant award payment schedule for your fiscal year 2020 organizational support grants. Our first revision is the change in match requirement for the organizational support grant program. We are changing the 3-to-1 cash match requirement to a 1-to-1 cash match requirement. Scott, could we change the slide there? Thank you. Yes, so a 3-to-1 match requirement is now a 1-to-1 cash requirement. This means that we are now asking for a dollar-for-dollar match for your fiscal year 2020 grant award. For example, if you are receiving $20,000 in OAC grant awards, you will have to show that you have also $20,000 in cash, whether it be organizational funds, private donations, or other types of revenue or reserves. Our second revision is that we are amending our approved usage of our approved uses criteria to include the inclusion of costs associated with the planning and delivery of virtual programming and content. Organizations across the state are beginning to adapt to this new environment and they're shifting their work to this new virtual space. There's really some great innovation going on, and we want to ensure that our grantees are able to utilize their OAC funding to support their programming during this time. So you can use your OS grant funds to support all allowable expenses that have been included in the past, in addition to costs associated with the planning and delivery of virtual content. You are also strongly encouraged to utilize OAC funds to support the payment of your staff, working artists, and contracted arts professionals. We are currently researching best practices and models for delivering virtual programming and content while maintaining to financially support artists and arts professionals. We believe that organizations should remain committed to appropriately compensating artists for their work. So we will be releasing additional information in the coming weeks to guide grantee organizations on how to financially support their organizations as well as art professionals in this new space. And you can also expect a one-pager on the changes to the grant program in the coming weeks as well. I'm going to briefly pass it on to Joel for a few minutes to talk about acknowledgement of Oklahoma Arts Council grant funds.
Sure. Well, as you all are accustomed to doing, you currently provide or acknowledge the Oklahoma Arts Council and the National Endowment for the Arts for support of your programs or in support of your organizations. And so now as we are moving rapidly more towards virtual content delivery, given the pandemic and just the way that the industry is moving altogether more online, we will be revisiting our requirements for that, our acknowledgement requirements, just to update and try to provide some guidance for how to appropriately and how to best acknowledge our support in your virtual realms. So you can anticipate receiving some updated acknowledgement guidelines from us for that. And that will include requiring and just asking you to be thoughtful about how you acknowledge us on social media. And so we certainly would appreciate that. And keeping in mind that helping to build an awareness of how National Endowment for the Arts and Oklahoma Arts Council funding makes programs and assists, empowers your organizations to do what they do, comes full circle back to investing in your organization. We ask that you be thoughtful about that, and we will soon be providing some additional guidelines on that. So look forward, or be looking for that soon. Thanks, Thomas.
All right, thank you, Joel. I just switched to a different microphone, so hopefully you can hear me a little better. Let me see here. Could we forward to the slide about the payment disbursement, please? Thank you. In addition to the revised grant program criteria, we are also revising the grant award payment schedule. In the past, we have distributed your award in 2 different payments, one in the winter and one in the summer. Your first payment for your fiscal year 2020 grant was dispersed in the past 2 months. So there is a remaining 50% of your grant award now. In response to the pandemic and anticipation of nonprofit needs, we will be releasing an early payment for you this April. This payment will be 35% of your total fiscal year 2020 grant award. Your final grant payment of the year will be dispersed in August, and the remaining balance of that is the 15% upon receipt of your end of year report. So we hope that this early payment will help support the great work that you do and also any challenges that may arise during this time. As Amber mentioned earlier, we are working on some additional avenues, including the regranting of federal stimulus funds to support and to support your work, and also resources for the field as we all navigate through this together. If you have any questions about managing your grant award, please don't hesitate to reach out and contact me. You can send me an email or give me a call. I'm always here to help. And also thank you again for the incredible work that you do. Please know that I, as well as the Oklahoma Arts Council staff, are always here to support you, your work, and your community. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Thomas. Thanks, Joel. Okay, so for anyone who may have joined us a little bit later on the call, this is Chandra Boyd, Deputy Director for the Oklahoma Arts Council. I'm going to facilitate a discussion on how you all as arts leaders in our state I want to have you share your strategies as well as ideas for innovation and ways that you're responding to the pandemic. One way we'd like to do this is, since we were such a large group, we've grouped you into set categories, and if one representative from each group could speak on behalf of your organization. Scott, if we can advance to that first group. So we're going to start with arts councils and organizations providing statewide service. And again, just a reminder to be thoughtful of the time that you're speaking and share equal time with your colleagues on this call. I think we'll get started with AHA. Holly, are you on the call?
Hillary Sutton is on the call.
Okay, great. Hillary.
And I'm sorry, can you repeat the question one more time? Is this just about what our struggles are currently?
Sure, so I think this is a time for us to just share some strategies of how you as an arts organization are being responsive to the pandemic, and if there's any ideas of innovation or strategies you're using to increase your impact to the community, that would be great.
Sure, well currently we have decided to close the Hardesty Center through May 11th. I'm not sure if that timeline will change, but that is what we're working with right now. All of our staff are working remotely. We have a large group of part-time staff that we have figured out a way to continue to pay them for a certain amount of time longer. We're trying to stretch that as far as possible. Was that mine?
No, that might have been on our end. Sorry about that.
Oh, that's okay. So we're working on our cash flow through the next 6 months, but it looks like we are going to be okay to stay the course for a little while longer. So we're reaching out to all of our top donors and working with them, just updating them on what we're working on. On the other side of things, we're working on ways to help connect the artists that we work with on an everyday basis to the community and just show ways that creativity isn't canceled in Tulsa. It's a kind of campaign that we've come up with. We're connecting with different artists, showing what they're doing in their studios, what they're working on, and keeping them, you know, in the face of the public during this time to just show some of the positive things that are still going on in our community.
I love that creativity isn't canceled. That's awesome.
Yeah, follow us on Facebook and you can see some of those. We also have them on our website at ahatulsa.org. We have about 10 artists signed up right now. It's completely voluntary, so they don't have to do it if they're not interested, but a lot of artists are really into it and are putting their videos together and showing what they're working on while they're quarantined. So that's just one of the ways that we're working on it right now. So
thanks for sharing, Hillary.
Yeah.
All right, Peter, Arts Council of Oklahoma City.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Well, we had several teaching artists working in schools, and also we had 17 different senior centers that we had teaching artists working in at the time that we had to shut everything down. So starting literally this afternoon will be introductory videos from both the senior center classes and the in-school classes, introducing from each of the teachers that they will be continuing their course structures starting next week on Monday. We're about 2/3 of those videos are already done, and then we've got another third that will be getting edited over the weekend for those introductory videos, essentially doing what Oaks Arts and Humanities Council of Tulsa said they were doing. We're just sort of introducing the students to the artists' studios, but then next week we go into full-on course structure once again. We have not stopped paying any of our teaching artists or the artists that are in the senior centers. These are vital services. We feel like even though the senior centers in Oklahoma City are locked down and no one can get in, it's even more vital now that they're used to seeing these teachers all throughout the year. Those populations are going to really enjoy having those classes back. So it's a two-pronged effort. We're focusing on getting the teaching content updated and where we can use it on video starting immediately. And then we're also working with each of the each of the groups that those classes are going to go into to help them figure out any kind of needs that they have, technology needs that they may have, to go ahead and get those classes out. It's kind of hard in the senior centers because they usually congregate in one living room area with a big screen TV. So we're working on that. There's a slight possibility after the call we were on, I think it was yesterday, Amber, where the OETA was saying they were going to be doing some broadcasting of course structure, and hopefully later today I can talk with them about the possibilities of getting these videos uploaded for use with OETA.
Awesome.
We're committed to continuing to pay our teaching artists. We're talking about around 14 or 15 different artists that work with us right now, doing all these different classes that we have. I'm thrilled that they have pulled it together, and each one of them they're not savvy on how to stand in front of the camera and go, "Hey, this is my art class, aren't you excited?" I mean, they're not savvy to that at all, and it's pretty fun they're really taking on some new broader initiatives for them. Also, Art Moves, which is our lunchtime noon performance series, we immediately we're paying all those artists too. We do artists, we pay artists to perform, and then those performances are for free every day of the week, Monday through Friday, 250 performances a year. And all the centers where we had those artists performing shut down. And so we started last week. We had artists in front of restaurants that were doing to-go foods. We made an arrangement with a couple of different places, 84 Hospitality and another couple of groups, and anyway, they were in front of restaurants. Now those artists are live streaming out of their homes, and we're still sending them a paycheck. In a lot of cases, we're doing it digitally, but we're also writing checks too. We had one today. We had one yesterday. The silver lining there is the audiences for these are dramatically higher than they would be just with the walk-by traffic in downtown Oklahoma City. On the first day, we had over 900 interactions with the noontime artist that was performing last week, and each day it has continued to grow. We're getting a lot of positive feedback from people who are at home working, going, "Gosh, this is so great to see local performers at noon." And of course, with the live streaming, you can chat with them and they can take requests and play songs. It's really cool. The sad note is Arts Festival had to be canceled. We're literally hemorrhaging money. I mean, I don't know how else to describe it. We're about $350,000 loss right now. And the sad part is that some of our sponsors that were directly related to Arts Festival and promises that we made to them to be sponsors for Arts Festival, we're having to give some money back, as well as the loss we are taking. So I know that $350,000 number is going to go up. It will probably, hopefully it'll sort of settle down around $500,000, but this is way different than it was back in 1995 because of the far-reaching economic implications to the entire community. It is going to be a struggle for us. We're looking at trying to keep all these services that we know are so vital, though, happening, and we really haven't talked up a whole lot at this point about the financial implications of our loss. We've been focusing more on trying to be very positive and keeping the teaching artists paid, and they all work contract labor for us. If they lost these paychecks, they would have no money. So it's continuity of service, I would suggest, is probably our mantra. Our mission statement is to bring the arts and the community together, and that has not changed. The paradigm of how we do it has changed dramatically.
Peter, if I can interject, I just want to make sure we have time for everyone.
I'm sorry, I'm done. That was all I wanted to say.
I do want to say how much I appreciate that you are continuing to pay artists and teaching artists, even during the economic challenges that you all are experiencing. So thank you so much.
Sorry, I rambled on.
That's done. Okay, great. You have great ideas there, really innovative ideas. It's starting to hail where I am now. So Chisholm Trail Arts Council, is anyone on the line from Chisholm Trail? Okay, Erin Gavigan, Norman Arts Council, are you here?
I am here. Can you guys hear me?
Awesome.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you first of all, for doing this for all of us. And I do want to acknowledge that, we also are a granting arts organization, and that has been kind of where our focus has been in the last few days on planning and triage and things like that. And I want to acknowledge we have several grantees on this as well. I know Jazz in June, Firehouse Arts Center, and Cimarron Opera are all on this town hall as well. And I just wanted to thank them for being a part of this too. So we have started with, first of all, we have in Norman something called the Arts and Humanities Roundtable. And that is our place that we go to for communications with all of our arts organizations that receive funding from the Norman Arts Council, but even if they don't directly receive funding from us, but are an arts organization in the community, this is our place that we go to talk about issues and concerns and programming. The Roundtable is recognized by the Norman Arts Council bylaws as an advisory council to the Norman Arts Council Board. And so we've been working a lot with our chair of the Roundtable in getting information out to our organizations. The Roundtable will meet virtually for the first time on April 1st within this new normal, as Amber called it. And we will be using that to kind of disseminate all of the information that we're gathering from Oklahoma Arts Council, Oklahomans for the Arts, Americans for the Arts, and keeping that information going out to our arts organizations. One of the things that we're going to talk about on April 1st is we are going to be working with a local videographer and filmmaker that some of you might be aware of, Dennis Spielman. He does Uncovering Oklahoma. He's offered to work with us to do simulcasting and live streaming of any kind of arts programming that we feel like we still want to get out to the community. So that's a big thing that we're going to be talking about next week with our arts groups, about how to utilize that service. In addition to that, as the Arts Council, we of course have our own programming, and we have, in discussion with Arts Council leadership, our board leadership, we are pretty much putting all of our own programming on hold. Our main site, Contemporary Art Gallery, is closed. We are obviously not having art walks for the foreseeable future. We're hoping that we can resume those in June, but we're not sure yet. And our other programming that we facilitate is on hold. the things that we are able to do are through our Public Art is Smart programming. This is our program that we've developed, which we create curriculum for Norman Public School teachers to use in their classrooms. Arts curriculum that pairs with the other core curriculum classes that they're teaching in science and math and social studies and English. And they're activity packets based off of public art in Norman. And we have made that available to anybody to use through our website now. We're not able to supply the supplies for the activities like we were doing for the Norman Public School teachers, but we have made all of the activities available to any parent or teacher in Norman who wants to use those during this time when everybody is needing to teach remotely and to teach at home. And in addition to that, we have produced coloring pages that people can download of our public art, which is just fun for kids to be able to pass time and still keep art in front and center with them. But the last thing, and kind of like as Peter mentioned, finances are difficult right now. One of the things in Norman that we've always been very proud of is the basis for our funding in Norman, which is a hotel tax. That comprises over 60% of the Norman Arts Council budget is the hotel tax in the city of Norman. And that's the money that we use to re-grant out to our local arts agencies. And we have, for the first time since we've been receiving that funding, which is over 40 years, the city has cut our current year funding. This has never happened before. And so we are working to absorb not only the current year funding cut, but the cut that we've been notified of as of today's status on what we can expect for next year, which is affecting the grants that we are about to notify all of our arts agencies on. So we are really focusing on how to absorb a funding cut in a community that relies heavily on direct funds from tourism. And it's something that we've really not had to deal with in the past. And that's kind of our big area that we're focusing on right now, is how to absorb the funding crisis due to the reduction in the tourism industry.
It's those compounding cuts that you're having to
Yes.
navigate. Yeah. Thank you, Erin. I want to go back to Chisholm Trail. I think, is Darcy on the phone? Are you able to unmute yourself? I think she was a call-in. Darcy? Okay, let's go on to Oklahoma Museums Association. Brenda Granger, we'll come back if we need to.
I'm trying to unmute Brenda. There, we go.
There you go. Thank you. And like everyone said, thanks for getting us together. It feels good to just be together because we're in this together, and it'll pass, but it'll be a while. Anyway, so OMA, we've been very, very active, as probably most of you know, trying to help our museums during this time. And now it's hailing in Edmond. So if you hear that, that's hail at my house. And anyways, and so we put a ton of resources on our website. We try to keep that up. Many are museum specific. Others are more general, including things on HR, working from home, furloughs, laying off, and a variety of things. And people have really thanked us for those resources. As far as our members, we have over 750 members. Anyone who's had a hardship, whether you're an institution, designated member, individual, it doesn't matter. If you have a hardship and need us to extend your membership, we're absolutely doing that free, not a problem. We're promoting hashtag museums from home, and actually a press release will go out this afternoon on that, and talking about creative virtual programming. We're gathering, our museums are doing amazing jobs at that. Philbrook, I mean, just so many. So we're gathering all of that and putting it on our website so you can go to One Stop and see everything. And so it's okmuseums.org, and you can go and see that. There's some great stuff. Our museums are being so creative, and also again helping with the education aspect as well as families. Today we had our first OMA Connect Zoom call, and we had 44 participants. And basically we were updating the museum field and asking what the museum field needs from us. We are going to continue that weekly. We've also started a new group, OK Museum CEO group. And thanks to Sherry Marshall, the president of Science Museum, she's heading this up. And it's just a forum where the CEOs, the museum CEOs can talk and have a space there. One thing that we heard yesterday with the Lieutenant Governor is that our state is in critical need of PPE, protective equipment, personal protective equipment, and our museums actually have some of that because from the collections you're using the gloves, the masks, other things, as well as all museums with sanitation. So we put a call out, and we have a group called Oklahoma Alliance for Response, which are actually first responders and cultural organizations together. And so we put a call out saying, if you're already working with your first responders in your community, please consider donating your extra items to them. And if not, consider your local hospital. And our next steps, we're already talking about next steps. Our next steps, our board, we're talking about is the self-care and well-being of our museum professionals. We're very worried about that. And so we're going to start working on resources for mental health, emotional health, even physical. And one of our board members, Valerie Walters, the director at the Chickasaw Cultural Center, she's already doing that at her museum for about the last year. So she's going to lead that effort. I don't know where it's going to go, and I'm sure we're going to have life coach or psychologist or whatever involved. I'm not sure what's going to happen. But anyway, so that's some of the things that we've been doing.
Thank you, Brenda. Thank you for prioritizing the well-being of our museum professionals during this time as well. Okay, Crystal from OVAC.
Hi, thank you.
Hi, Crystal.
Again, it's so good to see everybody. As I mentioned before, it's nice we actually get to see each other more often than we were before. So just a really quick update. We were in a pretty vulnerable position at this time because we were in the middle of planning and getting ready to install Momentum. So we had to make a lot of really quick decisions. Now we're saying that it went from Momentum to Slowmentum to E-Mentum because now it's all digital. But we were able, I'm really thankful for our staff, really great brainstorming. And I should also mention our board president, John Marshall's on the call. Really wonderful support from our executive committee and leadership to be able to make these quick decisions as the information comes. So at this point, we have transitioned to more of virtual connecting communities with the artists. So for Momentum, we did a virtual tour that we just launched yesterday. We're promoting 3 artists that were in Momentum a day for the next month or so. Still trying to promote those art sales so that those artists are having income through that. And we also had a lot of artists wanting to just connect with each other. So yesterday we also launched a new Facebook group called OK Artist Community. And that's been really popular so far. I think visual artists are already so isolated in their practice that now we're feeling even more alone. And so that's been a really great way for artists to connect with each other. Lots of really great conversations. So that's been positive as well. We're also looking ahead. Tulsa Art Studio Tour is planned in June, and we did go ahead and call to cancel that, which is really disappointing, but I just don't think people are going to be ready to have people in their homes come June, even if this is all over tomorrow, which of course we know it won't be. So that's kind of where we are. I'm just seeing if there's anything else. Yeah, I think that's it. John, is there anything you want to add?
No, I think you did a great job. I'd just like to say that one of the things that I was concerned about was making sure that the staff knew that they had the support of the board and that there's no issues there. So, because I'm sure this is disconcerting if somebody's, worried about losing their job, and there's no danger of that. We're going to weather this and we're going to push through.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Crystal.
Thank you.
All right, Christy from Red Earth. Can someone? Christy looks like she's muted. Can someone unmute her?
Lag whenever I click the unmute button. Sometimes it takes a second. I'm trying to get ahead on that.
Oh, and she's a call-in, right? No video. Okay, there you are, Christy. Did we lose her?
Okay.
There we go.
Okay.
There she is.
Okay, I'm sorry. Technology is not my forte. Yes, Red Earth is in kind of a unique situation in that The Red Earth Art Center has been dark for the last few months because we are in the middle of building a new art center in the first floor of the Bank First Tower. So we had already made some significant changes in how we do our business day to day and the special events and workshops and things like that that we do every year. That being said, all the great plans that we had to work into some new events that were going on throughout Oklahoma. We actually have 6 partner museums and cultural organizations that were hosting events for us. And so the changes that we're making requires the partnerships with those individual museums and organizations to figure out what's the best way to deliver art and instruction in those communities. So it's taking a little bit more time for us than what we were just doing at home with our own staff. So we've taken some initial actions about 2 weeks ago of putting everything on hold as soon as we saw what was going on with the NBA. And we had so many spring events that we needed to make some immediate decisions. So we have, with a very optimistic wish list, set up some rescheduling of some events later on in the year. But then we're also working, just like everyone else, to try and figure out how we can do some really innovative things using technology. We had a board meeting this Wednesday to really hone in on what the resources are we have on our board who can help us. We are very small. We only have 2 full-time employees, so we have limited capabilities of doing some of the work that needs to be done. But we are so fortunate. We have a filmmaker on our board, and we have the owner of a tech firm who is also able to help us do some things that we might not otherwise be able to do. We're also reaching out to our partners with the tribes. We have about 20 tribal organizations, arts and cultural divisions that we work with throughout the year. And so rather than duplicate services to our native artists, we're going to be holding some meetings to talk about how we can collaborate and really maximize our efforts. They're doing the same thing. Those tribal arts organizations, Laura Stewart at Chickasaw Nation, and all the others are all just working to try and help everybody. Our biggest challenge is when we decide if we're going to move forward with the Red Earth Festival, which is slated for the middle of June. And we have alternate dates later in the year that we could reposition that. But the artists for that specific event, about 60% are Oklahoma artists, and the other 40% come from all over the United States. So we've got some geographical challenges and just different rules and different things to consider. So what we're doing is we're reaching out individually to each artist to find out what's going on in their lives, how they feel, make sure they understand and know that Oklahoma and Red Earth want them to be successful, and find out how we can help them. We do have a lot of artists who really have never tackled online marketing and social media. So that's one of the things we're going to be assessing. Are there some of those artists that we could actually reach out and help get some things set up so that when things do get a little better and people and money is moving a little freer, they might be able to run their business from their homes. So we're just looking at all the different options with the resources that we have, and trying to stay optimistic.
Thank you, Christy. All right, so I just wanted to give everyone a time check. It's 2 o'clock, and we're just now getting through our first grouping. So again, just please be mindful of the time that we're giving for each other. We're going to move on to art service and arts education. I thought I saw Anita Arnold on the call earlier. Is she here? The Black Liberated Arts Center. Okay, let's, we don't see her. Shannon, Fine Arts Institute of Edmond.
Hi. Okay, well, just like everybody, we did we've really tried to over communicate with our patrons, our students, just because I know there's so much information going out to everyone right now. We want to make sure things aren't missed, but things were changing so quickly that about the second we would get the correct information out, it was not correct anymore. So as of right now, we're officially closed. We're doing nothing until April 15th, and that's pretty optimistic, I think, to think that we're going to be prepared to get back to business as usual at that point, but it may be obviously a little bit longer than that. But in the meantime, it's funny how when you are closed, I think we're all busier than we've ever been before, which seems crazy. But some of the things that we have been doing, obviously really utilizing social media. Our teachers are fabulous, and they have been putting together online, you can find at Edmond Fine Arts, Edmond Fine Arts on our Facebook and on our Instagram, some art lessons that are done by our art and schools teachers. And we also believe it is very important to continue to pay these teachers, especially through the end of the school year. So that will definitely be happening. Summer programming is different, and that's based on what we have to offer. So we'll kind of cross that bridge when we get there, but I completely, they're our family, and we're going to take care of them as long as possible. But they have come together and made a really great video that we're all in this together, and we think we're going to be able to drop that tomorrow, and we're really, really excited about that. So other than the art lessons and things online, our teachers, because we have supplies bought for the end of the year, are going to try to put together packets that'll be available for pickup if anybody wants to come by the Fine Arts Institute with little take-home art packages that we can leave outside for families to come and get. And so that is in the works as we speak. And we have different artists that are in our galleries every month. And so because obviously we can't have our April artist, we are going to be putting all of his artwork online and on Facebook, like a Facebook type art sales. And I kind of think that this is something that we will probably continue with every artist forever, because it opens it up to a lot more people that can't necessarily make it into our gallery. So I think that'll be a good thing that's coming from that. So we're going to try to launch that first one on April the 3rd. Fundraising, just like everybody else, this is a busy, busy time for us. We had to cancel our Eat, Drink, Art live and silent auction. We even went so far as to, we were going to do a virtual auction, Eat, Drink, Art at home, and have everything online, because we have amazing art and items that have been donated. But because of the timing of everything, we just don't feel like it's appropriate right now. There's so many other needs in the community. So we're doing a really strong push as an organization to support the other organizations and restaurants and businesses that have been supporting us and promote them. But at some point when the timing is more appropriate, we will start, I think probably end up doing this virtually anyway and have online auction, because I just don't think it's physically possible to have an event this year with space and just funding and all that, just trying to be as, you know, conservative as we can with the funds that we do bring in. I'm trying to see if there's anything else. We are group huddling every day with the staff and with teachers, and the board, my board has been amazing about being timely, and everything that we are doing, we have board documentation that it is by a board vote that we're making that happen. And I mean, our goal is just to stay visible and during this time, even though you can't come to our facility, but make it so that people remember us. We're here, we're gonna help in any way we can, and we're gonna be available the second we can get back to business as usual and making art happen.
Thank you, Shannon. Douglas, Norman, Firehouse?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'll try to keep it short. I mean, we're in the same position really as Edmonds Fine Art Institute, and Shannon was saying, if we're not sure, we're talking to all of our faculty to see if we can save spring, if it's possible even to just do 4 weeks instead of our standard 8. But all of our faculty are looking at ways to continue to communicate with the student. But with many of our programs that are hands-on, that need equipment, so we're trying to huddle to see how we could work towards the future, what could be delivered. I do want to say to everyone, though, I am with 2 brand new staff members, and so at this time where we're trying to look back at our history and see how to even move forward, I've got a brand new staff. So I'm struggling really to regroup, but we are hoping next week that we can hit social media, both with children's programs as well as adults. But our mayor has really closed us down until or through the 14th. So I'm trying to find ways that we could help our faculty, one person behind the camera, just with them one-on-one. But right now we're just not sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Douglas. Appreciate all you're doing. Let's see, Fine Arts Institute, or I'm sorry, no, Oklahoma Arts Institute. Julie, are you on the call?
Julie is not, but Shanna is.
Shanna, hi Shanna.
Hi. Hi. I know Julie had done a couple other calls, so she put me on this one. Plus I wanted to listen in and hear everything, all the updates, but so this has been great. But we're in an interesting timing because we just finished in January and February, our auditions for our Summer Arts Institute at Quartz Mountain. And we've accepted 271 students, and they are now confirming their attendance, but we don't know if June is going to be a time when we can actually hold our program. So of course we're working on contingency plans for things we could do virtually. Of course it wouldn't be the same as all of them convening at Quartz Mountain, and even if we do decide, it's looking less and less likely, but if we do decide we can do something at Quartz Mountain in June, we're still going to have to look at ways, I think, to keep people from being so closely gathered because they're all, it's a lot of people in one space down there for those 2 weeks. So we are definitely working on and considering other options for our programming for these students that have worked so hard and passed their auditions and been accepted. We have lots of ideas. We have 8 disciplines, so that makes, it's easier in some than others to do virtual instruction and projects. But we do have ideas for all 8, and maybe sooner than later we have an idea to try to put together, almost as a practice for us for the summer, put together a virtual choir, which you guys have probably all seen some of those virtual projects that have been done, and I think they're really neat. And like others have said, I think it's something that this is a positive silver lining of this whole thing, is it's making us think outside the box, and there are things that I think we can keep using even when we go back to our regular programming, on-site programming. So it has not been all bad for us to do these exercises to try to quickly figure out how we can serve our students. And we also realize that this could even have effects on our fall program. So we're brainstorming about that as well. Our fall program that we have for teachers and adult artists also at Quartz Mountain. So we're thinking through that. So just lots of brainstorming right now, and like everyone else, I guess, just putting plans together and doing our best to keep programming going. And then of course, on the fundraising side, there's a lot of grants we've already received or been approved on that are pledged. So we'll have to think through and figure out how much of those grants we can use and justify for the virtual programming. It seems like a lot of grantors are being really good about understanding the situation and knowing that we still need funds to continue, even if our programs can't continue as planned. So we're all working together, so I think it's going to be good.
Thank you. All right, Lynn, Children's Theater. Can someone unmute Lynn?
That's a good sign.
There she is.
Okay, so hi to everybody. Thanks, Oklahoma Arts Council, for doing this. It's lovely to hear everybody and to get a sense of we're all in this together. Yeah, things have been pretty hard for us. Everything we do actually involves large groups of people. So that's not happening. We're not allowed access to the campus. We're hosted by Oklahoma City University on their campus in one of their buildings. So we've had to cancel all of our spring break camps. We had to cancel productions. We have gone ahead and paid all of our contract labor and our artists for those particular activities. We've had to cancel our week-long rural residencies that we've had scheduled through Carol and Watson Rural Community Foundation, which was a really cool program. We have moved our fairy tale ball, but I think the general feeling is that like the Firehouse Art Centre, this may not be the time to be asking people to spend a lot of money on tickets and sponsorships. And so instead we're kind of looking at the possibility of just having a really, really fun family event later on down the road. We're coming up with contingency A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, trying to figure out how we're going to do our summer camps. That's typically when we have about 2,500 enrollments in our summer programs. So that's going to be a big hit to us if we can't do them or if we have to start late. Our staff, we're all working remotely, but we meet every day at 11 o'clock through, through some Google chat room or something, I don't know. But what we've been doing is posting online on our Facebook page, each day posting different fun videos and activities for kids to do at home. We're doing a weekly story challenge where we give kids a prompt, a story prompt, and we encourage them to, and now the rest of the story, finish it off. We receive those stories on Friday afternoon. We pick one story that several of our friends are all rooming together in a house, and they act out that story with the props and costumes and things that they can find in their house. And then we video that and have it on our Facebook page on Monday. So that's going to be a lot of fun. We're taking this opportunity to plan for the future. We're doing things like, staff procedure and policy books and planning for education programs coming up in the next year. It's the hardest part, to be honest, is when you're very used to being around a lot of people. And for me, being around a lot of kids, it's just really hard to be isolated at home. I have been self-isolating for the last 14 days because I had to cut short a trip to Australia. So I've been self-isolating because of the flights. But that's the hardest part. So, hugs to everybody.
Well, and those kids miss you too. I know Poppy missed her spring break camp.
No, sweet Poppy.
All right.
She's doing some great things in the neighborhood too. I love what she's doing. Good on her. Anyway.
All right. Anita, we do have you. She was on the phone and she was having trouble connecting. So Anita, you're on if you can hear us.
Can you? Yes, I can hear you. I've heard everything. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to report that relative to the kind of coronavirus, we had to cancel one of our performances in April. We're not sure about the festival, but it looks like we might be in trouble on the festival. Most of the festival activities was due to be scheduled at the Embassy Suites on Northwest Expressway, and I got an email from the hotel last week saying that they were closing down and that they would get back with me whenever they had an update on when they could open. So we're facing challenges, just like everyone else, with events that attract large numbers. We have been working with the Nonprofit Center, and the Nonprofit Center has been helpful with we're using some of their services during this time. Our upcoming board meeting in April, where we will be discussing strategies to manage our way through this challenging situation here. And I expect we'll have some changes, in some of our programming, because we'll have to set some priorities on many of the things that we were working on. but we do know that we will continue to do our arts education because it is so vital to Oklahoma City Public Schools in particular. We don't know how that's going to look even this summer because we'd already started some work with one of the churches in collaboration with F.D. Moon Academy to provide a summer institute for those children. We don't know now, since now everything is going to be online. We're concerned about the children in this community that do not have computers and don't know how to work those. It was somewhat of a comfort to learn that OETA will be televising some lessons, but I don't have the detail behind those lessons to see if those lessons, what students, the lessons would be targeted toward. Middle school is very difficult. At F.D. Moon Academy, I know that you've seen a lot of the publicity that has gone out since since the summer. We have worked very closely with that school, providing teacher training, providing programs for the students, and working on future programs as well. We will continue to work with that school in particular, while at the same time we will continue with all the other schools such as Wilson, Cesar Chavez, and Cesar Chavez has had challenges even during the school year. They have the largest population in the schools that we're working in. They have 900 students over there. So we're busy, to just say the least. But we are optimistic that we will continue our programming, but we'll make the needed adjustments and changes to our programming in order to make it through the virus.
Thank you, Anita.
You're welcome.
Oklahoma Contemporary Arts Center, is Dan here? I see Lauren.
I'm here and I can speak to what we're
All
doing.
Right.
Great. So as some of you may have heard, we had to cancel our grand opening celebration and the ribbon cutting and inaugural opening the following day. So we're sort of recovering from that. Luckily, we haven't had anybody request any refunds. We haven't had any issues with funders wanting to, retract their sponsorships. So we've been very lucky there. The upside of being super close to that opening was that we had a ton of already generated marketing and advertising materials that we're repurposing to become sort of information about our exhibitions, what we have going on. Basically, all of our marketing efforts are becoming an online extension of our programming. So we've sort of creatively repurposed those things in a way that I think is really great for the public. We have an interview online with Gattaca Fields right now, talking about his commissioned work for Bright Golden Haze. So you can see that and listen to him talk about his practice on our blog. And there we also are covering a lot of stuff in our opening exhibition. So we're trying to get that exhibition out to the public as much as we can, while also working to extend it in the hopes that when we reopen, that we can have it on view. Currently, we're still operating under the assumption that we're going to be presenting our summer camp contemporary. So we released those enrollments to members this week, and we already have 120 class enrollments. So we're pretty happy about that. We are working under the assumption that, if the quarantines continue, we'll have to cancel those classes, but we wanted to go ahead and offer them to our constituents just in case. So yeah, I think we're doing a lot creatively with what we already have on hand to put out our mission and our programming.
Awesome. Thank you, Lauren. So we are at 2:20. I just want to give a time check. I know we still have a lot of organizations to hear from. If there's anyone who needs to jump off the call, please do so. If you have something to share with the group and you'd like to be moved up, if you could just type something in the chat. I also know we have people who have called in that don't have access to the chat. So we're working through those as well. If you could, as we move forward, just maybe stick to 1 or 2 talking points. I don't want to rush this too much because this is a great opportunity to be together and share with one another, but I also just want to be respectful of your time on a Friday afternoon. So let's see, we're next moving into our theater group, and we have Ardmore Little Theater. Is anyone from Ardmore here? Okay. Broken Arrow Community Playhouse, Sherry Hacker.
Yes, I'm here. At the Broken Arrow Community Playhouse, we did have to postpone and then they came for me, Remembering the World of Anne Frank, which was scheduled to have gone up March 20th, but it has now been rescheduled for May 15th through the 24th. We're still, that is fluid. We know that it might not be, we may have to postpone again. That has thrown our last programming, Plan 9 from Outer Space, from its normal May-June run to July. So we have rearranged our next season for the 2020-21 season. And we're still just kind of fluid and making plans for what we can change to. That's become it's kind of like juggling at the current moment. We had a hoedown scheduled for May 8th and 9th that was running in conjunction with Broken Arrow's Rooster Days. That has been canceled at this point. We hope to reschedule possibly in September after we get our September show, opening show will be Little Women. But other than that, I just thank you all for all of the help that you are giving and the resources that you're providing, which I think is going to be very helpful for us.
Thank you, Sherry. I just want to jump back. Marianne, were you on the call from Ardmore Little Theater? Marianne? Okay. Okay. Rhonda Clark, Carpenter Square.
Hi, everyone. Well, the timing of this has not been devastating for Carpenter Square. We were due to be dark until April 3rd. However, the board met last week, and our the choices that we made were to cancel the May-June production and move our April 3rd opening production into that time slot, with the hopes that we can actually produce opening May 15th. Of course, that's still very up in the air, and the next, plan B after that is to move the production, which has the longest title ever, so that's why I'm not saying it, into the summer slot, which is June and July. So we've got, a few plans going, and if we have to cancel even in the summer, then the show will move into next season, given that folks are still available. So it's worrisome. It's very, very worrisome, but we're not hurting yet. We've got a very small staff, and so we're hanging in there and just trying to make the best of a very unusual situation. One thing that's been asked several times is, could we do live streaming of productions? And that's something that we have not explored yet. The arts, and especially performing arts, are really a community experience, and so that's a tough call to do. When you can't bring people together, can you make a live streaming of a performance interesting and powerful and impactful? And those are questions that we will have to answer, and something that we may have to explore on down the line, but we haven't explored that yet. And that's Carpenter Square Theater. I appreciate this very, very much, and having the opportunity to hear from everyone. Good luck, everyone out there. I wish you all the best with your organizations.
Thank you, Rhonda. Let's see, I know Carmen was on the call earlier from Gaslight Theater. Is she here, or Janet?
Janet is here.
Great.
Hi.
Hi.
Listening to everyone else, we're not in a lot of a different situation. We did have to cancel, unfortunately, our children's theater, of all things, but it fell right at the beginning of this crisis. So that has been canceled. Our May and summer slots, we temporarily just have on hold. Hopefully we'll be able to reschedule those down the line, but I think just like everyone else, we're playing it day by day. Of course, we're in the middle of a large capital campaign. We have put that on hold. We don't think at this time of financial crisis it's appropriate to go out and beg people for their funds. But that too is simply on hold. We'll come back to that later. We are looking, as far as the live streaming goes, you know, we've done our free Shakespeare in the Park for over 20 years now. And several of those we do have a library video on. So we are looking into the ability to live stream some of those, because of course that wouldn't require payment of any royalties or anything. Other than that, we are carrying on, keeping our heads up, keeping our social media presence felt, hopefully, and just wish everyone else as good luck as we've had so far.
I have a question for Janet. You were talking about, can you hear me?
Is this Rhonda?
Yes. Yes, this is Rhonda with Carpenter Square Theater. We are also in the process of a capital campaign. Has your board discussed when they might resume fundraising for your capital campaign?
We have not. We are still in talks. We were already at the point of, we have our architects, we've already paid them. We have our builders lined up. At a certain point, it's still several months down the road.
I was wondering.
Yeah, and so until we have talked to them and found out what their status is, we're just on hold at the moment.
Okay. Yeah, that's one of the things that will be the biggest impact for us, is we are still raising funds to refurbish our new venue down on Reno, and this could really has the potential to put us very much behind.
All right.
Absolutely, I understand completely. Thank you.
Chance from Lawton Community Theater, you've been waiting a while.
Okay.
He was our first caller.
Make sure I was on. First of all, thank you, Oklahoma Arts Council. I'm the newbie on the block. I have been at Lawton Community Theater for about 3 months, so it's nice to meet everyone. This Texas boy is now an Okie, and I'm proud to say it. That's
Yay.
Good. The health of our community, of course, is the most important thing. Of course, we're listening to our state and local. And to piggyback on what Joel said, we are focused on our recovery. The show must go on. We're looking at having our Matilda auditions through doing it virtually. And everyone, thank you for paying your artist. I just had to say that really quick. I just wanted to tell y'all that. Please, please, thank you for doing that. We have a fantastic and very active board that are out in the community reminding our sponsors and our donors that we are still here. I kind of feel like everyone else, I hate to ask for things when people are hurting, but we will be ready when we do recover. Our costumer found 50 surgical masks from when we did Young Frankenstein, and we were able to deliver that to the hospital. They were thrilled. She's making masks, and our little staff of 2, we're doing what we can. I'm trying to go fast because I know y'all need to talk. The programming that we have canceled, hopefully, because the way we structure it, can be recovered in the summer, and we are just still thinking the show will go on. Our thoughts are with all of you. So nice to meet you. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Chance. Michael Barron, Lyric Theater.
Hi, everyone. I truly feel your pain in this ridiculous time. I will say I've been on a lot of national calls with the theaters around the country, and I would recommend, if you haven't already, to have a 1 week, 1 month, 3 month, 6 month, all the way to 2-year plan. I wish I could say this is going to come back in the summer, but the major theaters are shutting down fast and looking at regrouping at the earliest Christmas time, perhaps fall. I'm just gonna I don't want to be a downer about it, but I just think everyone should be really honest with, and I've tried to be with my employees and with your patrons. We've had recommendations that you do not want to promise anything to your patrons right now that you can't deliver, but your message can change. So I would just be careful as you go forth and you change dates, that you make sure that they're further enough away for you to plan for that cancellation. Or, I mean, of course, everyone has, you know, their own issues, but I mean, I have plans. We have so many options going from completing the season as scheduled. I mean, there's probably 30 more going all the way next year, and we're just gonna meet each option as it goes. But the goal is not to send any mixed messages to our patrons and to our sponsors. I do have a question for those, I think Peter and maybe the Contemporary, that you have, what the conversation was like with sponsors that wanted their money back.
Can someone unmute Peter?
Yeah, I've just unmuted. It's been touch and go. The problem in our particular case is that the festival was a 6-day event one time a year. And so a lot of several of the sponsorships were just related to that. I got off the horn with a $25,000 sponsor this morning who I can't get the money. And I mean, it was promised for this year and it's just not going to happen. I had another one drop out the other day. In the last 2 days, I've lost 40 grand. And that's in addition to the losses of the event itself. So that's what I was saying earlier, that I'm at around 350 right now. I wouldn't be surprised if it tops out closer to $500,000. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to work out some deals. This is something I'm trying that others may consider this. And I got this idea from talking with Mid-First Bank, who, thank God, didn't drop out on me, but still I'm working out a payment back plan in a way. So what I'm coming up with is to say, well, look, you've already given me your money for this year. I know that you can't have the festival. And if they're needing it back, I'm asking them if they would allow me to pay them back over a 3-year period of time. And that in the next 3 years, I would only be getting 2/3 of the money they would normally have given me. And then 1/3 would be credit to pay back on this year. It's the silver lining of that is that you get a sponsor to commit for 3 years. The downside of it, like Michael just pointed out, is that this is not going to go away anytime. I mean, I'm thinking the ramifications of this are going to affect our organization for probably at least 3 more years after this year. But anyway, just a thought for you. And yes, Michael, it is very difficult. And it's literally every situation is different. I've had people say, yes, keep the money. I've had people want to push their thing to next year. And I've had others that are willing to work on an added benefit. Like, for instance, I have all these new programs that are breaking out right now, and perhaps they could sponsor some of these new initiatives that we're doing because they're awesome. They're great new initiatives, and they'll get some good publicity and good publicity for those organizations as well.
Thank you, Peter. The last thing I'll say is that I've encouraged my staff, and I've heard this around the country, to think creatively also about the long term. I cannot imagine that Lyric will be the same organization when this is done. Whether we are housed only in the plaza, sometimes at the Civic, we are doing live stream. I mean, the world is just going to be very different. And I would suggest you find out as much as you can and start adapting now, as opposed to waiting for the day when we return to business as usual. But I feel for all of you. And if you ever need any assistance or help, please reach out to me at any time.
Thank you, Michael. Connie from Muskogee Little Theater. Can someone unmute Connie? Connie Watts. Hi, Connie, can you hear us? Nope. Did we lose her?
She was here a second ago.
Oh, there she is. Connie, you're unmuted. Connie Watts? No? Okay.
Got Riley.
Hi. Yeah, let's move on to Riley. Maybe we can circle back.
So we have an after-school program that is currently going on. Our teachers have worked very hard to move all of their classrooms into a virtual setting. So we are connecting with our students through Zoom. We have recorded classes that are going on that are sent directly into the homes of our students. We have a very large, for the summertime, we have a very large educational program as well as a professional arm of our institution. All of which are just kind of on hold right now. It is our hope that we are able to salvage the educational programs, even if we can't salvage the professional arm, because we bring in professionals from all over the nation. So it is my assumption that that part of the festival is not going to be able to go on this summer. But as far as using local kids, we're hopeful, but we're anticipating that that's not going to happen either. Some of our parents have said that if it does not go on, that they want to donate their tuition costs that have already been paid, but we'll have to refund the majority of it. So that's where Oklahoma Shake.
Wow.
Thank you.
Wow, thanks, Riley. Oklahoma Shakespeare in the Park. Is there anyone on the call? Okay.
Sorry.
All right. Connie is having microphone issues. Connie, we're gonna move on. So it's 2:38. We're gonna keep going with the call. We have had some folks drop off. I do have their comments in the chat, and I will mention those when we get to that organization. Pollard Theater, Jerome. Can someone unmute Jerome?
Okay.
There you are. Oh.
Thank you guys again for having this. We're obviously just like everybody else. We're trying to work through the day-to-day, the week-to-week, the month-to-month. When we first made our decision to cancel productions, what we did, because those were tentpole productions, we thought it best to plan those to be the thing that we produced once we resumed. We still plan to do that. However, the truth of the matter is that we don't know when that is, and we made it very clear to our audience that we wouldn't know where that was. It just seemed unwise for me to say, oh, we're going to produce on this date. The truth of the matter is we don't know. The federal government doesn't know. So we will only kind of present them with information that we can give them a realistic expectation of what we plan to do. We are continuing to converse with our board members and our staff. We are doing all we can to kind of prepare to pay those artists that were going to work with us on these shows. But we don't have a large reserve of funds for which we can do that. So we are taking each day and making calls to donors and making calls to sponsors and saying, will you please continue to give us that money, even though we're not producing when we were. Most of them are just as concerned, just as unsure as we are, but they know that we have to work long-term to the development of the art and the community. And if we don't have those enterprises, the theater companies, the restaurants, then we won't have much of a community. So everybody is working toward that end, but it is a tedious process because nobody knows the answers. We are looking to produce some original content, but at this time, what we're primarily focused on is things to support the idea of getting this virus under control, and then talking about more artistic projects and fundraising, because we think we have one problem at a time and we have to kind of solve each one as we go. That's primarily where we're working from. And we encourage everybody to keep doing all they're doing and keep sharing their efforts, because it's really encouraging for me, because I don't have a large staff or a large board. So hearing your thoughts and going, hey, I'd never thought of that, let's try this, then it's another 2-hour phone call. So thank you all so much.
Thank you, Jerome. Okay, Connie was able to say in the chat that Muskogee Little Theater is doing optimistic rescheduling, no cancellations yet, doing virtual choreography rehearsals for their next production. So good luck to you all in Muskogee. We're going to move.
Can I add a little something? I think this might be helpful too when you're pitching people that are current sponsors. I think everybody needs to really be, if you don't already have it, work up your economic impact numbers, especially when you're starting to let them know about what's going to be happening in the future. For instance, I can, through the Americans for the Arts, we were able to work up the economic impact numbers on the Festival of the Arts. When we moved it over to Bicentennial Park, we worked up a very clear set of numbers, and it's about an $18.5 million economic impact on the community.
She's got to go to take her computer.
So when you figure out a way to convey that to the various businesses that you're working with, in order for them to recover, your recovery helps with their recovery, and it kind of helps focus the message of that we need to continue to. Thank you.
Thanks, Peter. So I just wanted to let you all know, in the essence of time, we are unmuting everyone just so that we don't have those gaps between each organization. If you can just be mindful of background noise, and are they able to mute themselves if need be? If you are able to mute yourself, please do so. We're going to move on to our visual arts group. Maybe Guerra Museum of Art. Is Tanya on the call?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Hi, Tanya.
Hello. I wanted to say thank you for providing the forum for all of us to network and hear the good things that other people are doing during the difficult times, and for changing the payment schedule. That was a very thoughtful thing for you as an organization to do for all of us. We have canceled Arts Track, which is a 2-week exhibit that we do with our local artists here, and so we have had to reimburse many of them. Some artists did donate their booth space, which that was, extremely generous. And hopefully we can do something for these artists whenever we can all reconvene. We've postponed our art classes. Hopefully we'll be able to do those whenever the virus has gone. And then we did postpone our spring fundraiser. So we have had some financial things like everybody else. I'm still in the process of talking to some of the donors to figure out how we can, with the cancellation of Arts Track, how we can deal with that. We have increased our social media. This week we've done tours. We've had an art lesson online, and then we've tried to do some fun memes with some of our artwork. So. We're just trying to keep engaged through digitally that way.
Awesome. Thank you. Kimberly, Oklahoma City Museum of Art.
Hi, good afternoon. We are working right now to take the museum virtual, like Brenda mentioned at the beginning of the call. Our staff is working internally, and we're putting out content every day that we would have been open to the public. Wednesday through Sunday, and we are featuring different things each day. We have a museum moment of Zen. We have a collection focused post. We've got posts about our film program. We're trying to feature local artists that people can go out in public and see and support that way. But one of the cool things that I think we're doing right now is our film distributors are working with us to provide us a specific link where patrons can go on and click and stream the film from their home, and a portion of the donation that they make to stream the film will come back to the museum. So that's a really great way for them to continue to support us up in their home. We're in a maybe more fortunate position than most. The Omelet Party, our last fundraiser of the year, was the week before all of this happened. And so we were able to get that wrapped up. Our attendance was a little bit lower in person than it usually is. I think that, we were starting to see the effects of that even the first week of March. But we have had to postpone several events and programs internally that we're looking to try and reschedule after our summer exhibition opens in June.
Thanks, Kimberly. I love the idea of the digital film. Philbrook, do we have someone from Philbrook? Samantha?
Yes, I'm here. Hi, it's been much like for everybody else, it's been a difficult time here at Philbrook. I feel like I'm really proud of our team for how well we're responding. This hit right as we were opening one of our large exhibitions, Tulsa Treasures, the day before. So we had to cancel a lot of programs for the upcoming months, and also our biennial wine experience fundraiser has been postponed until fall, which is a pretty heavy hit on just cash flow at this point. But I feel like our team, you know, they responded really fast and kind of set priorities. And all departments right now are focused on revenue and budget savings. They've done a really great job of swiftly shifting pieces of our mission work to digital platforms between sharing music, gallery tours, live streams, art making projects on all of our social media and online platforms. Our communications team really swiftly shifted our website over for this sort of museums for home movement. But much like everybody else, we're just working as hard and fast as possible with sort of an unknown timeline. We've postponed programs through April, and our executive leadership are working day in and day out, giving staff updates every day. Just kind of, we're planning as much as we can, but also realizing that it's really hard to plan for a situation like this and kind of taking day by day.
Thank you so much. All right, we're going to switch to ballet. I know Whitney had to jump off the call earlier. She just recommended in the chat to contact donors and talk to them one-on-one. We're going to move on to Tulsa Ballet. Amy Miller?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Like all of us, I think, you know, the ballet has been hit really hard financially. One of the very lucky things was that we had our major fundraising event early in the year. So that was in February and it was completed. And most of the revenue has already come in from that. However, we did have to cancel 2 of our 6 major productions for the year, postpone, but, you know, postpone indefinitely. And that's 40% of our revenue comes from that earned revenue from ticket sales. So that's going to be a pretty big financial hit. And we're able to recoup some of that by cost savings. But in general, we're just trying to figure out how else we can make more money when everyone is trying to not spend money. So that's a challenge. One of the things that I feel like we have the hardest time with right now is that we can't really do a lot online because there are so many copyright issues. So we can't do any streaming of our previously recorded productions because we have to get permission from every dancer who appeared, from every choreographer, from the videographer, from the costume, the lighting designer. All of those have to agree before we can present anything. But that's our next step. So we're hoping to figure out what ballet looks like in the future when you can't go and be in a performance hall.
Wow. That's a lot of copyrights.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. We're going to move on to our last group. This is our music group. Bartlesville Symphony Orchestra. Karen? I think you're still here. Could someone unmute Karen Woolman? There you go.
Whoops. Okay. Hi. I'm with the ballet. No, the symphony. I forget where I am. I'm sorry. Someone was just coming in. We've postponed our last 2 concerts for March and May, and we had a fundraiser in May that we also postponed. We're looking into a summer series for those concerts, July and August. We really haven't posted it yet. I'm waiting to see what happens, maybe in June, before I post it. We have been in touch with our patrons via email and regular mail. Also social media. Most of our patrons are older, so we do have to correspond with them through the mail. I've been sending out a lot from our Carnegie Link Up program out to our community for our teachers so they can still keep up with their students. They are online now. Our city shut everything down before our state did. So we shut everything down, and now we're really waiting on our venue, which is the Bartlesville Community Center. If they're not up and running, we're not up and running. So in this time, I was going to be working very closely for our next season. And my new hire that was supposed to start this week wasn't able to. So I'm still doing this on my own. I've been in the office by myself all season. So I was really looking forward to some help, which I'm not being able to do. So that's going to have to wait. So I've been working with our graphic designer for next season, with Lauren Green, our music director for next season. And hopefully our March, May, now July and August concert will take place, but that is unknown. But we're not putting that out into the public yet until everything is known. I don't want to keep confusing everybody with different dates. Our May fundraiser was moved to October, which is now moved, no. Yes, our May fundraiser is now moved to September. Our big fundraiser that was moved to October right now is still going, but it's still unsure, of course. We're just keeping everybody posted via advertising in the magazines, email, social media, Facebook. We are revamping our whole webpage from the bottom up. So this is giving us our chance. Of course, that's the only place basically that a lot of our people can get information, but the way our webpage was designed before wasn't giving them any information. It was 1985 webpage. So we're hopefully bringing it up to 2021. So I've been working with our graphic designer with that and some other ideas. All of our fundraising ideas are right now on hold, but we'll see what happens with this summer series if we're able to do it at all. We did have sponsors for each of those concerts, and they're on hold, and hopefully we will be able to keep them for that. Otherwise, we'll ask them if they would like to donate or maybe sponsor for next season, because nothing has been done for next season. I was in the middle of talking to other larger sponsors, but everybody's on hold, not knowing what their economy is going. They're going to be hit hard as well. So asking for programming, advertising. I can't talk to people face to face, and it's difficult unless you can. So the programming, which I would have needed for May, of course, now it's put on hold because we're not launching our season in May, our next season in May. So
Karen, I'm sorry I have to.
No, that's okay. Everything is put on hold. That's all I can say.
We wish you the best of luck. I'm going to move on to Canterbury Voices. Pam?
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm very encouraged now that we know that we have funds available for small business loans for payroll help. I'm kind of excited about that. I hope that pans out for all of us. We, like all of you, a lot of you, are we're at the mercy of the university campus that we're based on. We can't have rehearsals even when all of this is lifted for the rest of the year. So we're trying to figure all of that out. We did have to postpone our March 29th concert, that was to honor the 25th anniversary of the Murrah building bombing, to August 30th. And I hope that that date works out too. I hope Michael's wrong. Sorry, Michael Barron. We are doing what we can to stay connected in the meantime with our families and our musicians. We think that's very important because the 165 singers that we have, our adults, our 200 kids, like they come together on a weekly basis, and we just really need to do what we can to keep them connected. So what we're doing is like the remote rehearsals are really impossible to have like a meaningful rehearsal experience. You know, doing a choir performance meetup kind of things are neat, but it doesn't help for rehearsal purposes. But we're gathering personal stories in the meantime from our singers to put out on social media. And our youth choir, we're still paying our conductors and our accompanists. We're still planning to have a concert at the end of this semester because we don't want to refund any tuition. And we just want to make sure that, we did enough rehearsing at the beginning of the semester that we have some material to go ahead and perform. So they're doing some Zoom meetups with the 4 choirs. This next week, they're doing practice videos. The conductors are doing practice videos for the kids and doing fun incentives to stay connected. Like they're doing a singo instead of bingo, where they're gonna have a card that they circulate to all the kids that will be like, perform a CYV song for your family, reach out to a CYV family and check in to say hi, wear your CYV t-shirt, practice for 20 minutes, those kinds of things. So anyway, we also really fast, we have KUCO is running our Handel's Messiah concert that we did this last December, and they're going to be airing that the week of Holy Week. So keep an eye out on Performance Oklahoma for our Messiah performance. And that's it.
Great. Thank you, Pam.
Thanks.
Bruce from Chamber Music Tulsa had to leave early. He did say that Chamber Music Tulsa is in good shape to weather this, provided they can relaunch in September. Most of their season was concluded, and they hope to reschedule the 2 events that have been postponed. Cimarron Circuit Opera Company, I know Julia had to leave the call early. Enid Symphony Association, is there anyone here from Enid Symphony?
Enid what?
Enid Symphony Association?
Symphony, I'm sorry, I thought you said sympathy.
We're feeling the sympathy, aren't we?
Oh, yeah, we're all feeling it. Listen, we're very fortunate.
There you are, Doug.
Our
Yeah.
final concert of the season was to take place next weekend, and we were fortunate enough, we started thinking of this in February, late February, and so we had contingency plan. That's been postponed until the opening concert of the next season, which hopefully will be late September, mid to late September. But it also, the downtime gave us an opportunity to rethink what we thought we were going to do for next season and revamp our scheduling and our contracting so that we could make a lighter financial burden on the early part of the season, but provide more opportunities for more musicians in the later part of the season. We also have a substantial rental income. We own our building. We own part of our building, and we're about to own the entire building. We're negotiating that with Tyson Food Company right now. So we've had to cancel all of the events scheduled for the next month and have taken a hit a little bit in the income there. But we're looking at taking interviews with different musicians and guest artists for next year, putting them on Facebook Live. We're also doing tours of the Enid Symphony Center, which are, again, it's a revenue generating proposition. So we have announced our plans for the season and will, in fact, have a subscription, but in that subscription, we'll offer a discount to current subscribers based on the face value of tickets for the performance that had to be postponed. So essentially, we're going to be offering that concert for free to our subscribers who resubscribe by a certain date. But we're going to weather it. We did put on hold hiring an administrative assistant. So I'm enjoying the office. It's a marvelous place to be. Thanks very much for everything.
Thank you, Doug. Friends of Starlight Concerts, do we have anyone? Jazz in June, Norman Hammond had to leave the call early, but I will read his comments. Jazz in June is still currently scheduled for June 18th through 20th, but we are actively reviewing alternatives, including streaming, video, and public radio options. Fortunately, we have had a little more time to react than our sister festivals, the Medieval Fair and the Norman Music Festival. One interesting finding I wanted to share, this is the time of year when we do our Friends of Jazz in June campaign. and we relaunched our Pace Setter campaign just as social distancing was starting. To our surprise, we are getting donations. It's counterintuitive, but people are responding positively. It's as if we are giving them an option of something else to think about, plus our patrons are extremely loyal. For what it is worth, this has been our experience. So our plan now is to move forward, but from what that will take is still up in the air. Will be decided by the 1st of May. All right, Oklahoma City Philharmonic. Tara?
Yes, hi everybody. This is Terre with the OKC Phil. First, I want to thank the Oklahoma Arts Council for this platform. Being able to listen to all of you, my heart breaks, but we are in this together. So it's kind of comforting as well to kind of hear what everybody's going through. Just an update on the Phil. Like everybody else, the majority of our staff is working remotely, but unfortunately, we are in the middle of our season renewal. So we do need to have a couple staff members in the office to process renewals. And we've been putting together a schedule where it's one person at a time in the office. We've also been working on projections. We are in pretty good shape for this season. So we've actually been putting all of our efforts and strategies into next season because we are a bit concerned about next season. So we are looking at possibly even reprogramming our season. So that's will be revealed soon. As most of you know, we did have to cancel one of our concerts. We have rescheduled our final classics, but we will more than likely have to reschedule our final Pops and Discovery. We're trying to push it as late in the year, trying to be optimistic and hopeful that we can still make it happen. And we've also had to cancel all of our education and outreach programs. A lot of them do happen within the schools, and with the schools being closed, we can't do that. So, but we are working on some virtual options for our adult programs. But overall, we will weather this storm together, and I'm really proud of all the staff that we have at the Phil. We're all working hard and staying in touch. I do want to piggyback kind of on what Whitney was saying about the ballet. We are working and focusing a lot of our stewarding with our internal and external partners, especially our donors, and reaching out to them and checking in on them. I do think that this is kind of a powerful moment for us to make sure that everybody is okay. So it's been well received, and I do think everybody else should be doing that as well. So other than that, that's all I kind of have to report on the Phil. And again, thank you for doing this. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Tara. Tulsa Opera, I know we had a couple of folks on the call. Anyone still here?
They had to leave.
They had to leave, okay. Tulsa Oratorio Chorus, Tulsa Chorale. Mary Carroll, are you here?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you, Kendra, and everybody at OAC. This has been, and all our friends in the arts organizations. Just very briefly, we had to cancel or postpone, is the wording we're using, our March and May concerts. Our artistic director is trying to explore ways to present them perhaps in the 2021 season, maybe a retooled, simplified version of it so we can still present the pieces but limit our financial exposure. Our board put together a plan to conserve our cash through June 30th, so your news about releasing funds earlier is music to our ears. And we had to cancel our April fundraiser. The person we're working with is looking at online fundraising, like putting our items, our live auction items online. And so we're working on that, which is pretty exciting. We've been very concerned about messaging, that we're not just like, send money even though you may have lost your job, or, you have a loved one in the medical field that's risking their life. And I want to do a shout out to Tulsa Opera. Their messaging has been spot on as far as communicating what's going on and also communicating care and concern for our community. So that's where we are. The only other piece I want to add is, of course, we can't rehearse remotely. We can't, it just doesn't work as bandwidth and delays and whatever. But our artistic director, Dr. Sharp, has been working nonstop on providing us singers a way to rehearse at home, meet kind of virtually once a week during our regularly scheduled rehearsal times, so that we as singers have a sense of community and a sense of purpose, and that we would be ready to go whenever we're allowed to safely gather again. So, and we're reaching out to our donors, but messaging has been really a big priority for me. So we're not sounding I'm not using this as a singer, but tone deaf, or like, we're just concerned about ourselves when the whole world is in an unprecedented crisis. So that's where we're at, along the lines of everybody else. So, but I really want to thank everybody in the OAC for all your hard work. And I would love to have these meetings quarterly. I loved seeing your faces. I loved hearing your voices. This has been hugely beneficial. So thank you. And that's all.
Thank you so much, Mary Carol. And thanks to everyone for hanging in there. What a great discussion. Amber?
Yes, thanks everybody. I don't want to take up any more time other than to thank you all for your resiliency, your commitment, your innovation. It's inspiring to us. My only question I'd like to have is to ask is how often, what a great, Mary Carol, thank you for that segue. Our question was going to be, we may have to pull this OS organizations together for announcements and information from our agency, but let us know how often you would like to have this kind of platform for discussion, especially as we're kind of all in triage, and we will continue to facilitate this opportunity for us to get together. So if you'd like to follow up or present ideas right now, we will be happy to hear those before we log off. Anybody? Okay.
I think everyone's muted.
Yeah.
Can we unmute everyone right at the end here?
Monthly, while we're still navigating this, is what Aaron Gavigan threw out.
Unmuting.
Yeah.
Quarterly.
I think monthly would be fantastic.
Me too.
Great.
Okay. We will continue.
And more often, if need be. I mean, because this is such a evolving, developing situation. But we're flexible. I mean, we've shown that as artists and artistic organizations. We're nothing if not flexible.
True that. Reiterate that. Well, thank you. Everyone stay safe, stay in touch, and we'll continue to convene this platform. Thank you all for your time. We know you spent a lot of time on a Friday. Have a nice weekend. Go relax, do some self-care, and then we'll hit the ground running on Monday, everyone.
Sounds good.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.